Did you all know David Arquette is a licensed Bob Ross painting instructor? He teaches people how to paint like Bob Ross. It's kind of unrelated, but I thought it was awesome. Thought you should know. So Scream is actually Scream 5, but it's just called Scream, which movies do nowadays, which is probably why they did it, because it's Scream, super self-aware, allegory as to movies and fandoms, so it's probably why they did it. They even make a joke in this movie about that concept. Point is, as someone who has to title this video, it's very annoying. And for my own sanity, I'm just gonna go ahead and call this movie Scream 5 as I'm talking about it right now, because Scream is Scream 5. It's been 10 years since the end of the Scream trilogy. Now we have new victims, which means new suspects, because that's how Scream works. Ghostface is back. There is an intriguing story-based element as to who Ghostface is killing and why. Now, with the passing of the late, great Wes Craven, this is not directed by Wes Craven. It is directed by the directing duo of Ready or Not, which completely works, because Ready or Not was pretty awesome. Also, if I had to pick directors for another Scream movie, it would be the directors of Ready or Not. Also, Kevin Williamson didn't write this Scream movie, but he is a producer on it, so he's still involved. Right out the gate, gonna give you what you want to know. The Ghostface murders. How are they? Savage. Ghostface is just one of the coolest, greatest killers in the annals of horror movies. It's not just the killings, it's the playful banter Ghostface has, the phone calls. That's where I suspended my disbelief in this movie. Of all of it, the biggest suspension of disbelief, I was like, the girl at the beginning has a landline? Very 90s of you. I mean, granted, you look at my retro game room, you'd be like, that's very 90s of you. But in practical application for the movie's sake, it did a lot for a scene where she's talking to Ghostface, but also texting someone. I thought that was a lot of fun. But man, the savage shit talk, the suspense, and the killings. Top tier Ghostface in this movie. I really dug the Ghostface killing. Great build up, great payoff. Ghostface is a dick, a complete motherfucker. That's why we love Ghostface. And not only does this movie have a whole new group of friends, this whole crew of friends that it revolves around, the main victim slash protagonist is completely new as well, which was the case in Scream 4, but not to this degree. I mention this because the marketing looks like Sidney Prescott comes like, all right, sweet, let's put him in the ground. Not really how this movie plays out. I mean, she's in it, obviously, and they do use her, but not until the latter part of the movie. Chess metaphor, right? We've all seen the Queen's Gambit. We're all down with our chess metaphors. Fantastic. In the original Scream, I felt like Neve Campbell was the queen on the chessboard. The badass, the focal point, the opposing sides going, we take the queen out and it's game over, essentially. Who are we kidding? Scream 4, Neve Campbell was more like the king. Not always in on the action, but still definitely a focal point. The story still felt like it was revolving around her. Scream 5, I felt like Sidney Prescott was that rook, you know, the rook that you keep there until the end game in which you might have to castle, then you use the rook. Right, it's kind of what Sidney felt like in here. Of the surviving Scream alums, David Arquette, Dewey, he's actually in it for a sizable amount, which we love to see that. He is a legend. But on a personal level, I did feel the absence of Neve Campbell for the majority of this movie because personally for me, she is my Scream queen. Neve Campbell as Sidney Prescott is quite simply perfect. Every year I rewatch Scream, every year is another year where I'm like, she is so fucking good in these movies, which is also a very tough act to follow. It's like, all right, anyone who wants to pick up the mantle of being the main character in a Scream movie, good luck. I will say among the new lead, there is a strong family dynamic. If you're gonna have Sidney sitting on the benches for most of the film, have a strong family dynamic. As for the new crew of friends and suspects, there are a couple of standouts, but they didn't stand out to me as much as the crew in other Scream movies I've seen. They do have fun with the banter and the finger pointing, though sometimes it got a little heavy-handed for me. I get it though, in a world of self-aware meta-horror movie references, Scream was a trailblazer for that, but it almost feels like so many movies do that very self-aware thing that if this movie did it to the degree the original Scream movies did, it wouldn't stand out anymore. So if you want a Scream movie to stand out, it has to be crazy over the top. I get it. But I felt like Rocket Raccoon, it's a bit much. Regardless, I can appreciate having fun with the horror movie tropes. There was actually a great scene that's kind of a scene within a scene within a scene that I thought was one of the coolest scenes in the movie. So, you know, there is give and take there. Some of the characters, though, I was like, dude, the finger pointing got a bit much for me because friends in a situation like this probably wouldn't finger point. It worked in the original Scream movie where they're all sitting around and they're finger pointing like, oh, you saying that I killed her?
Was that before or after he sliced and diced.
It worked as a high school conversation that high school friends in the 90s would have, in the sense that they're only kind of half serious, but it works to let the audience know that the audience is supposed to think like that. You're supposed to suspect everyone. If you look at the Scream movies after that, the finger pointing among the characters in the movie was pulled back because the audience knew. It's like, yeah, we go into a Scream movie and we know we're supposed to suspect people. So the fact that these characters are all suspecting each other and finger pointing, I was like, you all shouldn't be friends if you actually think this. Granted, it's Woodsboro. It's a place where douchebags slash people up when they're your friends. In the end, by and large, I enjoyed Scream 5. Not my favorite since the original or anything. As I stand here, it's not even better than Scream 4. It's probably because I felt Scream 4 had more of a purpose, like beyond the whole, oh, it's been 10 years and movies and fandom are different, so let's do it. In a world where in Scream 3, the Ghostface killings were essentially PG-13 killings. Also, Screams always had comedy in it. They were horror movies with comedy. Scream 3, I would classify as a comedy first. I felt like Scream 4 existed to bring Ghostface and the Scream franchise back on course. Gory kills, horror movie allegory, good horror with comedy in it, but to give the horror first and foremost that extra flavor. So Scream 4 felt like a return to form for Scream, and it had that purpose. This is Scream 5 because sure, we can make it work. But in the end, by and large, they do make it work, and I had fun with Scream 5. And the nitpicks I have of some of the self-aware elements that Scream's always had, but in Scream 5, it's a bit on the nose. Some of the support characters is feeling like they're there to die or not standing out. Some others are a bit unbelievable, like they're caricatures of Scream characters. But in the end, it's the brutal Ghostface killings that makes me go, I can look past those other things. If you're here looking for some fun, bloody, gory, savage kills with some great payoff, I think that's how Scream 5 is gonna grab you. I'll say the movie was a fun time, no alcohol required. Alright, so Scream 5, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Or how do you rank the Scream movies? What's your ranking? I feel like I've asked you that in other Scream reviews I've done, but hey, it's been some time, let's revisit it. Lists change, that's how they go. But whatever you think, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.